Hi everyone. Today I'm gonna do something a little bit different and talk a little bit about the CM15 Cancer Cup, which will be hosted on the Hanshin 2200 meters, or also known as the Takarasuka Kinen. Now, of course, this is an early parent making guide so that you can get ahead of the pack and get some useful parents for your Umas later on. I might make a full CM15 guide later on, depending on how I am feeling, but otherwise, let's just get started and talk a little bit about the race course itself. So the conditions for this CM is actually going to be right-handed, summer, cloudy. It's going to be good ground, which basically equates to wet conditions, non-standard distance, and the Hanshin race course. The track features two downhills, one at the beginning of the race and one a little bit before the start of the late race. This makes width very valuable as it increases your chance to enter and stay in downhill mode. In addition to the two downhills, there are two uphills right after each downhill, which can reduce your acceleration by quite a bit. And then we also enter the late race on a corner, so corner acceleration skills will be valuable as they have been in previous CMs. And finally, the position keeping zone ends around the 916 meter mark. Now, let's talk a little bit about the core acceleration skills so far. Following the trend of the previous 3 CMs, for front runners, angling and skimming keeps coming back as the mainstay acceleration skills, while for backliners, as always, we have Let's Pump Some Iron, and this time around, in comparison to CM14, we have Moving Past and Beyond. Now, also in comparison to CM14, Pace Chasers this time around don't really have a reliable acceleration skill, aside from gambling with No Stopping Me, maybe Straight Descent, and Head On. No Stopping Me is a decent gambling acceleration for any of your front-runner Umas, so I think that's a must take. And similarly to CM13, Red Shift is a good secondary axle to even out the playing field as it activates about 87 meters after the late race begins. And then as for Velocity Unique Inherits, this is not really required to get, but if you have the skill point to spare, feel free to grab V Bourbon's Operation Cacao. It's a solid mid-race velocity skills for your front runners. Aguri's Triumphant Pulse is really good for your non-front runners, and then New Year's Opera's Bar Carol of Blessings is a good late race velocity skill working for everyone, which is kind of like Homestretch Haze but better. And finally, if you want to gamble, you can always take Fuji's Light of Vaudeville to work as another velocity increase in the final straight of the late race for your front runners and pace chasers. Talking about inherits, let's talk a little bit more about sparks we're looking for. As always, front runners will want to take groundwork and dodging danger with one of the two movement skills such as ignited width or prudent positioning. And if you get up tempo as a spark also, that's just a plus. Pace chasers, on the other hand, you might want to get sparks such as Nimble Navigator and Head On for some gambling acceleration skills, and then Shroop Step or Groundwork as a replace. Either or works because Shroop Step now we know that is kind of similarly replacement for Groundwork that works for Pace chasers, and up tempo to push you up in the mid race. For backliners, you might want to get sparks such as Umastan, since you don't really care about pushing farther than 6th place for Cheer Halo's Unique this time around compared to CM14. And obviously, Nimble Navigator is good to have. And if you want to gamble, you can always try to Take the Chance, which is the Grace version of From the Brink, which basically equates to On Your Left for medium races. And then for late surgers, as always, you can always have the gambling of On Your Left. Finally, the common sparks that you might want to look for is the greens, such as Summer Runner, which you can also get from the Takarasuka Kinen Race Spark, right-handed and wet conditions. And then your generally good velocity skills to inherit, as always, is going to be Tell Hell High, 3 times over, Ramp Up, and finally, any distance or style corner straight skills is just a plus. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit also about Christmas Augury. She looks kind of scary at first sight. However, I believe that if you want to run her as a pace chaser, she can be very gambling. As I believe her only good enough activator this time around is 777. As you can see, 777 it has near perfect activation for Christmas Augury's unique, but activating 3 uniques makes it so that you can activate all 3 skills around 79% of the time. Well, if you want odds around near perfection activation, it will be a little bit less, under 60%. Obviously, you could take 4 recovery skills. However, this risks your unique not being activated at the right time, and instead you could activate it too early, which misses the chance for your Christmas Ogre to take over the lobby. However, if you run Christmas Ogre as a late surger, you can always inherit Moving Past and Beyond, right? Or Let's Pump Some Iron, one of those two, and have those as your backup acceleration skills, in which you can actually take 4 velocity, 4 recovery skills, and gamble for a perfect activation of Festive Miracle, while also having on the back pocket Moving Past and Beyond or Let's Pump Some Iron to work good enough for your Christmas Ogre. As always, please correct me if I got anything wrong in the comments below, and I'll do edits in the description to reflect this. So this is for today's quick guide on making parents for CM15. Thank you for watching today's video.